Welcome to the Intelight tutorial 122. This tutorial we're going to finish off preemption. In tutorial 121 we did the interval times and got that configured. So this is the second half of preemption. So we'll dive in and figure out what we want to do with the phases and what the options available are. In the previous tutorial we pretty much covered everything under preemption parameters. So everything in this table is covered in tutorial 121. So certainly reference that if you need to go back and look at these interval values up and what they mean. So where we're going to start on this one is down in preempt configuration. And the first value we have is the dwell phase. This is the phase that we're trying to get to. This is the guaranteed green for the emergency vehicle or the dwell phases that are compatible with a train going by. So that's where we want to go. So we're going to pick 1 and 6, and that's going to be our dwell phases. Now that we have 1 and 6 as our dwell phases, that's our destination of where we want to go. So we're going to have some dwell or give it some green in 1 and 6. So right now we're in 4 and 8. I'll bring up my status screen. And I'm going to slide down and we're in 4 and 8 yellow and I'll hit apply. You notice we're in entry, and as soon as we go to 1 and 6 directly, we're in the dwell interval. So we have dwell and preempt, and we're in our dwell phases 1 and 6. So now I'm going to release the preempt. I'm going to uncheck it and hit apply. And you will notice that it goes from 1 and 6 to 2 and 6. In other words, it's going in sequence because I don't have any exit phases programmed. It just picks up the next logical phases in sequence. But that may not be what I want to do. So I'm going to go back and put exit. So now we're going to go back and put in some exit phases. So we don't want to go to the next phases in sequence. We want to specify where to go when the preempt gets over with. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to put in 4 and 8. So the preempt comes in, we go to 1 and 6, we dwell. When the fire truck leaves the intersection, we leave 1 and 6 and we go to 4 and 8. So we'll go back to our status screen and we'll hit preempt 1 and we'll hit apply. And we will wait until it goes to the beginning of 3 and 7 because we have some minimum green time, and it will honor that. If it's in a yellow or red, it goes there immediately. So we've got a few seconds of walk time, 5 seconds, and it will leave 3 and 7. And it will go into dwell, so we're in dwell, and we're in 1 and 6. So now I release it, and instead of going to 2 and 6, it should go to 4 and 8. So the dwell timer has a minimum green time, so it's guaranteed this amount of green even though the preempt is dropped. And when it times out, exit starts, and we go directly to 4 and 8. So this is the right operation. So we have dwell phases and exit. The next one we're going to talk about is track. And track is a short interval to get a vehicle off the railroad track. So to have a track value, you have to have some track dwell time. So we're going to go up, and we're going to put in a few seconds. So basically, a train's coming, we get the input, we're going to go to a green so that any vehicle on the tracks can move off. We put seconds in there. And then we're going to shut down the track phases and go to the dwell phases while the train's going by. So I'm going to say it's going across a minor movement like 3 and 8. And of course, 2 and 6 are parallel to the track, so we'll dwell in 2 and 6. And then we're going to exit to 4 and 8 when the train leaves. And we'll hit apply. And we'll go up. I just want to verify that the order that's going to be is we're going to go to the track interval, we're going to go to the dwell interval, and then we're going to go to the exit interval. So these are the phases that are going to run in that order under this particular operation. And we'll go up and we'll test it. We'll go back to our statuses. Now, if you are in the track phase when the preempt comes in, it just stays there. But if we're not, we hit apply in 2 and 6, so it's going to leave 2 and 6 and go to 3 and 8. We're in track service right here. It's track service, and we're in 3 and 8. A little slow, but we'll get there. Track gets over, we go to dwell, so now we're in dwell, and dwelling in 2 and 6. And when I remove the call, the third interval will be back to our exit interval, which we saw before. So the dwell counts down, it exit started, and it goes to 4 and 8. So that's our test. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go back and look at the next set of values. We'll go back to preempt. And going down, the next value we have is a track overlap. So we have an overlap that's conflicting with the train, and we want to make it green. For those 6 seconds, we would just put the overlap number in there. The next value is dwell ped. So if we want a ped to dwell or an overlap to dwell, well, the train is going by the intersection. So if we're in 2 and 6 and we want to bring up the ped, let the pedestrians move, we'll put in 2 and 6 here, and we'll hit apply. I don't have any overlaps programmed in this database. I probably should have put one in, but anyway, we'll get the point across with the ped. So we'll go back up to our status, and we'll bring up our preempt status. We'll check the preempt, hit apply, and we happen to be in 1 and 5 yellow. We went directly to, we got a pop-up, to 3 and 8. Our track interval says track service. It's going to go back to dwell. So now we're in 2 and 6. Notice that we have calls because dwell phases are non-actuated. Ped dwells are non-actuated, which means that they're going to be serviced when we go there, and we're in the walk interval. And we'll sit there because there's no other activity. We'll hit apply and exit, and we will exit to our phases. So the last set of configurations on phases, overlaps, and peds is cycling. And cycling are actuated phases, and they're used for rail service where we're going to be in preempt for a very long time, and we don't want to just sit in 2 and 6. We want to go and service other phases. But remember, these are actuated, not non-actuated. And a phase cannot be both. It can either be a dwell phase or a cycling phase, but it can't be both. So we'll put in phase 5. We may have wanted to put in phase 7 or 5 and 7. But if there's no call, it won't go there. But I got these on recall, so we'll certainly cycle. And of course, we want to be able to see this activity, so we'll go back to our status. So we can cycle to other phases, move traffic as best we can that are not conflicting with the train. So we'll hit apply. And we happen to be green of 1 and 5. And we got entry, so it counts down a few seconds, then it hops over to our track phases, which are 3 and 8. And we're in track service. Track times out, we go to dwell. So we're going to go to our dwell service, which are 2 and 6. Notice the peds are up because they're non-actuated, so we're running walks in greens. And because we have 5, and 5 is compatible with 2, I'll bring it up so you can see the timers. But 6 will max out. We'll clear the ped. We're in flashing don't walk. And we'll go from 6 to 5. So we're going from 2 and 6 to 2 and 5. And once we get there, there's no ped on 5, so it's just running the green movement. And it will cycle back and forth between 5 and 6 as long as the preempt is active. So we will leave 5, and we're back in 6. And if we stayed there longer, as long as the preempt is running, it's going to cycle back and forth. And we could have other other phases that are not dwell phases in there. So we could go, 5, 6, 7 if we wanted to. So we'll hit exit, and we go to our 4 and 8 exit phases. Now we're going to look at the preempt options. So we'll go back to preemption, and we'll scroll down to the preempt options. So we've gone through the parameters, what are the timing intervals. We've gone through the configuration, which is what we're going to do with our phases, peds, and overlaps. And now we're down here in the preempt options. And the first option, these are all yes, no, true or false, is non-locking memory. So if you do not want the detector to be locking, you check it. So if you want non-locking memory. The second one is not override flash. So if you're in nighttime flash, you can decide to stay in flash. Normally, preempt has a higher level than flash, so with leaf flash, go to our dwell phases and run preempt. The next one is not override next preempt. So the lower the number, the higher the level. So I've checked 3, 4, 5, and 6, which means first come, first serve. However, if preempt 1 or 2 come in, it overrides 1, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So this is where you put the emergency vehicles down on 3, 4, 5, and 6, and your railroads on 1 and 2. The last one is the flash. So during the dwell interval, the dwell phases can flash yellow. All the other vehicle phases or channels, vehicle channels, flash red. So if you want to have an all red flash during preempt, select a phase without an output on it and you'll get all red. We have two additional preemption options down here at the bottom that we've just added in 171. They're pretty cool. They've been requested by customers by specification. And the first one is immediate ped clear. So we don't have to, we want to cut the ped off directly. We got a fire truck coming 60 miles an hour. We want to cut that ped off, get people out of the road quickly, so it will supersede the clearance of it and go immediately to clear that ped. The next one is the status light. There's white light bulbs on mast arms to show the emergency vehicle he's got is green. And in some cases, they want that on only during the dwell interval. So we can make that optional. Traditionally, it's on whenever the... Thank you for watching this preemption tutorial with me and going through the configuration and the option switches. You really should look at tutorial 121 and 122 together because they kind of tie up together. But preemption is pretty simple, pretty straightforward, just basic interval logic, step 1, step 2, and make sure you test it. So that's it. Hope to see you at the next tutorial. Bye.